and take your seats. All right, I'm going to ask everybody to take your seats so I can open in prayer. Okay, if you'd all bow your head for me. Dear Lord, thank you for this day. Just thank you for the freedom that we're allowed to meet tonight, Lord. We just ask you to bless our meeting, bless our party, bless all the business and all the information you're about to receive tonight. In Jesus' name we pray, amen. Amen. I'm going to ask my friend Doug to stand up and lead us in the pledge to the flag.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Doug. Thank you, Doug. Who's here for the first time? Okay, since our last meeting, we've had a bunch go on. We have a new budget today. And some interesting news for Greenville County is that part of the budget, our House Representative Larry Yarborough put in place $35 million for the South Greenville Water and Sewer Authority. So that's we're going to talk about redistricting here in a little bit, but one of our new House Representatives, Matt Winslow, that will be covering the southern portion of Greenville County and Franklin County. He brought $23,500,000 home for Frank Clinton, Youngsville, and his district. He's now our representative, so another thing that happened today is G.K. Butterfield decided to retire. And along with G.K. Butterfield's retirement, let me just say that once I get to the district lines here in a little bit and just give you a snapshot of what the new district lines look like. We are now in the new District 2, which encompasses 17 counties along the Virginia border and kind of wraps around toward the coast a bit. I read in the National Review in another article last 2 days that Greenville County, most roads for that congressional seat, our Senate seat, our North Carolina Senate seat that is brand new, and both of our House seats that now encompass Greenville County, all roads are going through Greenville County. So we are now ground zero for this congressional seat. You okay? That's my boy. That particular District 2 congressional seat has been identified as one of 10 in the nation that the RNC is focused on winning. And again, we have a pretty good candidate, Sandy Smith, who ran for the majority of that congressional seat a couple of years ago against G.K. Butterfield and nearly beat him, swung the tide nearly 25 points. She'll be running. She's running again. She'll be at our meeting next month, December 16th. But the neat thing about that is I've heard over and over again that Greenville County has not been represented very well. And we have a unique opportunity in that we have a pretty good candidate in Sandy Smith, and rumor has it she's moving to Granville County. So that may even up the ante for our county and in our profile. So that we're looking forward to that. Creedmoor had their elections. City of Creedmoor had their elections, and we had two great candidates. One is here, Emma Albright and Robert Way. Emma ran unopposed. They will be sworn in and installed next month, and going to hit the ground running in the city of Creedmoor, giving us a Republican majority in the city of Creedmoor for the second time in the city's history.
Wow.
So, I need to call on a couple of people. We have our County Commissioner Chairwoman, Sue Hinman is here. Sue. Commissioner Tim Karen is here. Commissioner Russ May. And I have my friend from the north of Vance County, the chairman of the Vance County Republican Party, Jimmy Barrier. And our other Republican Commissioner, Georgiana Kaczynski from the city of Creedmoor. I'm going to put a plug in real quick for Jimmy. Jimmy's, how many people know a friend or a family member that lives in Vance County? Okay, a handful of you. Jimmy has his meeting on November 23rd.
Next Tuesday.
Social hour starts at 5:30. Coffee and cookies. Meeting will begin at 6:30. And they meet at 210 Industry Drive in Henderson. And your featured guest is?
Sandy Smith. So your Congress woman that we want to put in there is going to be there. So come meet her.
So for, if you'd like to go and participate, you're more than welcome to do that. But really, if you have somebody in Vance County that's a Republican and wants to get engaged in Vance County, you have no left. And Jimmy's really doing a good job. And we're trying to help him as much as he's helping us. And I appreciate it. Thank you.
We're all in this together.
Absolutely. We have a Lincoln Reagan dinner report. Why don't you come up and do that, Mike, real quick, and then I'll talk about the district.
Hey folks, so as you all know, for the past, what seems like 10 years, we've been doing the Lincoln Reagan dinner. And we had it, we did it on October 30th. A lot of you were there. I see a lot of faces that were there. I would just like to quickly acknowledge Kristen Kennedy and Georgiana Kaczynski, because without them, we would not have had the Lincoln Reagan dinner. It just it wouldn't have happened. So if we could all just give them we worked really hard to put on the event. Everybody seemed to have a good time. We liked it. I thought the food was good. It was a little bit cold, and so we're going to make a couple of adjustments for our Lincoln Reagan dinner for next year. We're working on that already, and hopefully we will have an inside venue, so we won't have to worry about the cold. Over the course of the months with the Lincoln Reagan dinner, we raised about $22,000. We spent about $16,000, and we netted somewhere around $6,000. So for our first foray into an event like this, I'm pretty proud of it. I think that we did a good job, and it worked, and we're going to do it again. So we're going to have another event around May-ish, April, May-ish. That's going to be a little, not quite so suit and tie. It's going to be probably at the Gap. So we're trying to figure that out, when and where that's going to be, but that's going to be a little bit more larger, a little bit more inclusive. And then we're going to have our big gala next year during the month of October. I'm not 100% sure what the date is yet. We're waiting on other people to get back to us. You don't know yet, do you?
No.
Yeah, so we don't know yet. We're just waiting on other people to get back to us, but hopefully next month we'll know, we'll be able to tell you when it's going to be. So that's it. Thank you so much.
Okay, we have a number of speakers in the presentation, so I'm going to quickly ask the treasurer, Tony Gooch, to give us the bottom line on the bank. Thank you.
$9,054.73 after all expenses have been paid for the bank.
9,000.
That was quick.
$9,054.73, all expenses paid at the banquet.
Okay, thank you, Tony. Secretary Ridge, you have the minutes for the executive meeting that we will be posting on the website
Yes, sir.
by tomorrow in the next 24 hours. So our executive board meeting met Monday night, and all of the business of the executive board will be posted on the website by tomorrow night. Go.
In future months, they'll be posted by this Thursday meeting. It's budget week at the General Assembly, so I didn't have enough time, but in future ones, it'll be posted by tomorrow.
So Ridge works in the General Assembly, and he was tasked with helping move the budget along, so he wasn't able to post our minutes on the website.
He had to actually do his job. He wasn't able to do our stuff.
Well, that's good. Thank you. Thank you very much. First speaker, Tim Karen. Just come on up.
Good evening. It's absolutely fantastic to see so many people in this room. I get to come to this room twice a month, and staff usually sits up over in that corner, and then there's usually 6 or 8 citizens, and then after 1 or 2 minutes, they get up and leave. Not that we're boring or anything, but it's just the participation for the Greenway County Board of Commissioners. School board's getting all the attention right now, which I would appreciate very much if you continue to put the pressure on Greenway County Public Schools. And come to this board, please. We missed some good stuff the other night. We floated a resolution so that people could see how the sausage was made around anti-masking policies and anti-jab policies, mandates if you'll have it. But it didn't go very far, and one of the reasons we did it that way, or I did it that way, rather than just try and, in the meeting packet, put forth the resolution, it would have got voted down, and we would not have,
It's on, we just gotta get closer.
right on.
Hey.
So, seeing the sausage get made is very important sometimes. It can be messy business, and it would be much better if there was folks in the audience to witness the process. Because I'll tell you what, when people are here and watching what's being done, there's different outcomes. And that's where we need you to do. We need you to be here. We need you to support people who are on these boards. Thank you. Now I can hear it. Perfect. Outstanding. So, I've got 7 different speeches prepared. You've got about 7 hours or 8 hours worth of material. I'm just going to blindly pick speech number 3. A lot of folks don't know who I am. And I don't say much a lot. I'm pretty much an introvert. My wife kids me and says I'm the most antisocial politician she's ever met. So, and I've been kicking around politics for a little while, but I'm going to tell you a couple quick stories, and then I'm going to ask you a big, huge favor. So, I'll take you way back, machine. 68 is your board. Buffalo, New York, suburbs, Cheektowaga. Okay, so I don't know if anybody knows the Cheektowaga area. It's where the Buffalo International Airport is. So, it's South Towns of Western New York. Grew up with a fantastic home. My job was to play all the time. At Boy Scouts, we went camping. I have an older brother, a younger sister, and a Vietnamese foster sister who's the same age as me. So, idyllic lifestyle as a youth growing up. Went to a pretty big high school, 600 kids, 563 in my graduating class. So, substantial suburban area outside of the city. Went to college and was going to become a teacher. And in my sophomore year, I convinced my parents that it'd be a really good idea, instead of driving into the city to go to the small little Jesuit school that I went to, that I should be allowed to dorm. And they said it'd be okay, so grades went in the tank. My junior year, a bunch of guys that I dormed with, we decided it'd be a really good idea to save money and get a house off campus, so the grades went even further in the tank. So Christmas vacation, January 4th of 1989, I enlisted in the United States Reserve for the Army. I needed to grow up and get my act together. So I went off to basic training, AIT, came back to school, and things were looking rosy. And right before Thanksgiving of my senior year, My unit got activated to go to the Operation Desert Shield and Operation Desert Storm. So I became a veteran, which is outstanding. Changed my life, which is for the better. I grew up in between my junior and senior year of college, even though it was a 4-year period because they kept having to go back. But anyways, met my wife of 27 years. We moved to Granville County, North Carolina in 1997. So all that to be said about where I come from and what I grew up as, and it's kind of formed who I am with the whole scouting thing, service through that type of thing, the United States Army Reserves. This is where I started being a public servant, so to speak. So my career field, chosen career field, was in the health and human services field. I was a QDDP, Qualified Mental Developmental Disabilities Professional. I worked in group homes and day treatment programs with autistic adults and severe and profound people. When we moved to North Carolina, my wife and I didn't know a soul. Two of us, came down here for greener pastures. She's an occupational therapist. She was in Henderson. I, working in the human service field, wound up in Chapel Hill. Drove circles around our jobs, and we wound up in Greenways, North Carolina in 97. Built a house in city limits in Golden Pond. And in the year 2000, I had enough of the human services field. At that time, I was working as the director of the Granville County Intermediate Care Facility for severe and profound adults. So went from that to Buffalo Bagels. Guess where I got the name Buffalo Bagels from? Anyways, my hometown. Ironically, the type of machine that I used to form the bagels was invented in Buffalo, but side story. Ran the bagel shop from 2000 to 2004, almost to the day. The best time when you have a business to sell the business is when you have somebody who wants to buy the business. So I was approached by a Chinese couple who had a place over at the Dutchville Shopping Center. They were approached by a Mexican organization who wanted to buy the Chinese spot. Chinese folks wanted to buy my spot. So best time to sell is when you got someone who wants it. So I decided it was time. My wife and I was working 80 hours a week at that time. So I was kind of married to the job. Not really spending too much time with her. And I got involved in local politics. In 2001, I ran for the city of Creedmoor and lost. In 2003, I ran for the city of Creedmoor and won. That's when the first Republican majority for the city of Creedmoor ever started. Myself, Angela Mango, and Kent Ray, 3 Republicans on the Board of Commissioners in the city of Creedmoor. We did lots of fun stuff and did some things, moved it forward. You may have seen Playful City USA, Kaboom. That was my baby. I brought that national organization and that thing here. I was on national steering committees with the National League of Cities, with the North Carolina League of Municipalities. Things were looking good. Didn't have the bagel shop. Well, I still had the bagel shop because I was, doing that. 2004, left the bagel shop. 2005, my wife and I were blessed with the most beautiful young lady, Madison, my daughter, my absolute heart. Going from the bagel shop, when we were blessed with the pregnancy, we put a pencil to a piece of paper and said, well, you don't have a business anymore, you gotta have an income. Doing a little politic thing on the side, it was kind of fun. That didn't really pay any bills, but we decided that I was gonna stay home, be a stay-at-home dad. So that's what we did. I'm a stay-at-home dad, still am today. My daughter's 16, she started driving officially with her own license and everything. She was assigned the 1999 Silverado Chevy pickup truck. That's her driving vehicle. Anyways, I digress on that. I mentioned that only to say, when I make a decision on this board of commissioners, there's 2 things I really consider first. One is my daughter. And then I think about everybody else's daughter, and everybody else's son. And then I think about people's parents and their families. And then I make a decision. Nothing that I do doesn't start with that, thinking about my daughter and how my decisions will affect my daughter. So, if there's any question about where the decisions come from, it's the very first thing I put in priority is my family, because I know that each and every one of you do. And I'll tell you what, my family is just as important to me as I hope your family is to you. And if anybody touches your family, they're touching my family. So we're in a problem. So that's the one thing about this Republican Party and this Granville County. We're family. Sometimes you fight with family. You don't always agree, but we're family. So that's the story of Tim Karen from the the other side. Politically, I started to tell you a little bit about my city of Greenways experience. I became a Granville County Commissioner in 2010. I had run for the office at one point before that and lost while I was a city of Greenways Commissioner. But came to this board in 2010. First ever elected Republican to serve Granville County. And I was pretty much Mr. No. I was told to sit down. I didn't get a committee assignments that I wanted. I was on the Seguasa South River Water and Sewer Authority with the city of Greenways. When I came up to the county level, they told me that was not a job that I could have. So from 2010 to 2017, there was different representation from this board on Seguasa than we have right now. In 2017, I was appointed to that board and still serve on that board today. I say that from a committee standpoint. We have 17 different committees that we can serve on as commissioners here, and it's decided by the chairperson who serves on what committee. We try to have longevity on those committees. Each of us has served on a pretty good number. The new people, the freshmen, they don't get the, I don't say they get the crappy assignment. They get the committee assignments partially from who they took over for, whichever seat they ran for and got. Change on our board is not all that happening. But I serve on the Cooperative Extension Board, the CARTAR Development, Workforce Development, the Granville County Economic Development Corporation Board, the Parks, Greenways, Recreation Task Force, the Emergency Services Board, the Board of Broadband Initiative, the Opiate Advisory Committee, the Granville County Health System Board of Trustees, and the South Granville Water and Sewer Authority. So that's 9 different boards and committees. So lots of fun things going on in Granville County as far as that goes from my perspective. Other boards and committees that the other commissioners serve on, we liaise to the school board, we liaise to the NC Department of Transportation, we have the planning board, animal control, lots of fun stuff like that. So, but I'm gonna wrap it up here because I'm getting long in the tooth. My ask. So on these boards and committees that we serve on as commissioners, we have citizens. All right, so your Board of Adjustments, or the Parks, Greenways, and Recreation. Each of the commissioners appoints somebody from their district into serve on that board with them. We like to appoint like-minded individuals. So I've got 3 vacancies right now, and one of the boards has been vacant for quite some time. It's the Juvenile Crime Prevention Council. Looking for a person if you're have juvenile crime prevention as in your heart about what you want to do, and you live in District 6, you can go on the county website and look at the boards and commissions that are there. But I also got a library board
Excuse me, you
position
don't
coming
have
up.
to live in your district, you could be outside of the district.
You can be outside my district. Thank you, Chairman Hinman. We like to appoint people from our district, but not being able to fill a board is not a good thing. We want to have people in these seats. The library board is becoming available after the first of the year. My long-serving appointee on that board is stepping down. She has done a fantastic job. It was just a little write-up. She donated a Lego village train sets, planes, cars for her husband that had made. It was a previous library board person, but I digress. So JCPC, the library board, and the Board of Adjustments. The Board of Adjustments is just about to come open. So those are 3 boards that I've got openings for. So if there's something that interests you serving on a board or commission, I would encourage each one of you to go on the county website and look at the boards and commissions that are available, fill out a contact form, submit it with your interests. It would be very helpful to the commissioners when a seat come open on a board if we had a list of folks to choose from. So that's my ask for you tonight, is to be actively engaged in our boards and commissions. We need people who are like-minded thinking to be on these boards and commissions. We need people to sit in the audience when we're having meetings to make sure that the people sitting here with me, and myself included, are being watched for what we do. Everything that happens in my world happens in public view. Every email that I've ever received is available. If you want to read it, you're welcome to it. So that's one thing I want to impress upon you, is that we take our jobs as a board of commissioners pretty seriously. At least I hope that the rest of the board do. I'm looking at 2 of you all right here now, and I know they do. So it would help us immensely if we had your support for our endeavors, because it's your endeavors too. So with that, I will close. If you need me for anything, you can reach me at the county offices. It's easy enough to do on the web.
lots of fun things going on. I would love to come to your house and go for a walk with you around your neighborhood. So if you would like to do a walk and talk and learn all about Greenway County and what's going on with economic development or any of the boards or commissions that I serve on, I'm really happy to say that. We've got a huge fire services committee study going on right now that I've been working on for 4 years now. And thank God Russ May came and helped push that across the finish line. So with that, I'll close. I appreciate each one of you being here tonight. If you're in District 6, please come by and say hey to me. Like I said, once I get going, I can't stop, but getting going sometimes that's a major issue. That's a major issue. All right, well, the last two meetings, election integrity was discussed at length, and taking the temperature of the room at the time and what was on people's hearts and minds, given what we saw in 2020, we decided to have David Warren, the NCGOP Director of Election Integrity, to come in and give his presentation, and Sean Chilson with you're with the RNC.
Yeah, Victory, same program, NCGOP, RNC.
Well, come up and reintroduce yourself with your correct title. How about that?
Stage yours.
Hi, my name is David Warren. Can everybody hear me? No? I'm the Election Integrity Director for the RNC here in North Carolina. A little bit about me. I'm actually from Baltimore. Obviously, I'm a little older than most people that are in the field business. My background is actually financial planning, banking, mortgages, and all that sort of stuff. I started off as a field, just basically volunteering in 2006 for a gentleman that was running for Maryland State Senate. And that's how I started my job, like doing this business. Because time is limited, I'm going to be rolling through basically what my presentation is for the last year, last month or so, and also going through the next year about field training. The reason why we're doing this is we have to. We have to have, I need 8,000 people between now and November. 8,000 to cover 2,600 polling locations. Bunch of things have come out of Baltimore. One, Star Spangled Banner, War of 1812. Number 2, Under Armour. Number 3, me. Number 4, Frank Zappa. Number 5, Nancy Pelosi. It gets better. And whatever the number I'm up to now, 6. Thank you. Baltimore at one point had more 112-year-olds voting in any place in the world. I've also worked Youngstown, Ohio, which is called Little Chicago. And those who don't know what that is, from the 1920s to the early 2000s, that's where all the mob guys from Chicago and New York would meet. So I've seen the shadier side of this business. So this is who I am. I'm the Election Integrity Director. I've worked for the RNC, this is my 6th time. I've done 3 presidentials in some of the hardest areas known to man for a Republican. I'm part of the group that won Northeast Ohio for the first time since '56. Wow. That also means don't get said. In Youngstown, we won not a congressional seat, that's up next. A House seat that we hadn't had in 80 years. That was in 18 because of stuff that we did in 15, 16. We also won a state Senate seat that we never had before. So with all that being said, go back to the first page. Kevin Klein, this is how important I take this in the RNC and also your state chairman. Do you realize that Chairman Watley was one of the main guys in Broward County in 2000? He saw what the writing on the wall was for the Chads and the falling Chads and the whatever. He helped arrange 500 attorneys across the nation. He literally affected an outcome of a presidency. You guys are the only state to actually have legal counsel on payroll. Ohio doesn't have it, Kentucky doesn't have it, Pennsylvania doesn't have it, Florida doesn't have it. Think about that. That's how much your chairman understands election integrity. Kevin Klein is my counterpart. He's the legal counsel brought to by the RNC, just like I am. So there's two paid people. Now go to the screen, sorry. Real quick, the reason why the RNC was not allowed to be in anything election-wise, election day operations or whatever you want to call it, early voting, whatever, is because something that happened in New Jersey in the early 80s. By court order, we were not allowed to do any election stuff whatsoever. The only reason why that changed is because the judge died. Seriously, judge died. New judge came on and said, look, who hates Republicans also, but he said, look, the RNC is doing everything properly, so on and so forth. We were going to have something last year, but then the world blew up because of coronavirus and so on and so forth. But that's the reason why we're here now. You can go to the next one. Here's a big thing. We had almost 3 million people that were actually did what is the side of it. Phone calls, doors, so on and so forth. Again, I need 8,000 people between now and November. Go to the next one. These are the states that the RNC is targeting, high targeted areas, the battleground states. California, Pennsylvania, and New Hampshire just literally came on live this week. Go to the next one. Aunt Stacy's here, guys. I mean, Miss Stacey Abrams. Why is she here? She wants to do this. One thing I actually absolutely thank you, Chairman, for doing this. You guys are one of the few groups in the nation that do this on a regular basis. You have no idea how important this is. Even ask your friends, neighbors, or whatever, to literally ask them, say, look, are you registered at your current location? Because you may have moved and you haven't registered where you live currently. Ask them, don't ask them, and I'm stealing his thunder a little bit, don't ask them if they're registered. Because he's like, oh yeah, I'm registered. Ask them if they're registered where they live. Because Stacey Abrams, the reason why we lost Georgia is because Stacey Abrams got she almost got 100,000 people to do this. And our people stayed home. That's why we lost Georgia. Flat out. Go to the next one. Was there? He's giving me time because the moment's sick. Some of the stuff that we're doing that we did earlier I got here October 4th, so I had a short period of window to get everybody up and going. I did over 14 trainings, had over 200 people just this past October into November to cover the polls for this past year. Some of the stuff that we talk about, what we go into, what is a poll observer? Go to the next one. This is all the stuff, and again, I'm blowing through it. Early voting, at large, what is the difference? If you're located in a precinct, you only can stay there. If you can go at large, you can go anywhere up to, he can get 10 people. Go to the next one. Developing good relationship with your chief judge or site supervisor, so on and so forth, what you can and cannot do. I go through all that, very technical. Go to the next one. Again, early voting, who can be there, who cannot. Right here, this is something I'm going after. Anybody know any high school kids that's 17, 18, 20-year-olds? We can train them, because that's the other thing Kevin and I are planning to do, is work with you guys, the chairman, and find out who can actually be a paid person, who we can actually fully train. Go to the next one. The students ones are very, very important, because number one, they actually can learn the system, because look, all of us are getting older, and we don't want to do this forever. So teach them, and they also get paid. Now that's election day, same type of thing, so we'll go to the next one. Voting process, I go through all the new voting, what you can do in the process. Early voting, they can register and vote on the same day. On the day of election, they can't. Go to the next one. Curbside voting, and I was dead right on this one. I told Phil Thomas, I said, I got a gut feeling that curbside voting is going to be big, which it was. That's the reason why we need people that, or the poll greeters, the people that are outside, because you guys are the first line of defense. Because actually that's how I started when I first did mine. Because if you see what's going on in the front, and you're the person in the back, the observer, he can text you and say, hey, look, we have a problem out here. because maybe the lines are too big. Maybe because of curbside voting, it's one person, one ballot at a time. Not 10 cards at a time, one person only. Go to the next one. Who's entitled, what they can do with the voting, so on and so forth, you know, what they can have, receive help, there's limitations on what they can do. Go. Voters are prohibited from, cannot do any electioneering, like literally, Phil was telling me last year, there was a guy, his wife was running for office, literally would take people inside, put their arm around the shoulder and lead them into the polling place, into the booth. Illegal. You can't do it. Most of the stuff that we got called on election night or election day or early voting was very minor stuff. Like, I don't know why I keep picking on you because you're just sitting there. But let's say he and I have known each other for 600,000 years. He knows where I live. He knows everything about me. Same thing with him. Me with him. Hi, David. How you doing? David has to say his full name and say where he lives. He's supposed to repeat it back. It's small technicalities. That's what Kevin and I get into. Is the small little things. We're actually writing up a top 30, 40 list of items that you guys will probably be facing with because the election law book's about 3 inches thick, with the code, so on and so forth, and also just not dumbing it down, but just, well, I forget what I'm looking for, but just
User-friendly.
thank you. Literally, so if something goes wrong, you can actually go to the polling judge and go, here's the statute, here's whatever, so on and so forth. Because 99% of the time, these election judges or people that are working at the election are God-fearing Americans on both sides, and they make mistakes. But here's the code. Go to the next one. Observers do what they can do. The other thing is, if your shift starts at 8, show up at 7:30, 7:45, because then you know who's who, where's what, so on and so forth, and they also get to know you. If your shift starts at 12, show up at 11:30, 11:45, because if you're replacing somebody, A, you get to know who the people you're replacing. Number 2, you find out what kind of polling location you're working and what's going on. And number 3, you get to know everybody that's actually working there. Go to the next one. And also, you know where the restrooms are. Also, let them know what you guys are going to be doing. Just introduce yourself. You can go to the next one. The don'ts. The big thing is this right here. Know where you can go, where you can't go. Because the last thing you need to do is get thrown out or be on the paper or some newspaper. Also, you can't wear stickers, shirts, so on and so forth. Also, the other thing I was teaching in my class, look on the back of your phones. Make sure there's no campaign stickers on it. It's just little things. Go to the next. Important, if you're talking to somebody, the election judge or supervisor, always be respectful, but also know what the law is, and that's what Kevin and I's job is to do, is to teach you, make sure you guys know what's going on. If something is going on, you need to report it. There's ways to do that, which we go through in the class. Go to the next one. Problem spotting. You guys are the eyes and ears of what's going on in your county. Kevin and I can't be everywhere. At election day, this past one, we had 10 attorneys from starting 6 o'clock in the morning till literally 12 o'clock at night. Because my last call was at 12 o'clock. There was a mayor's race in Salisbury that was decided by 18 votes. Guess what? Somebody was at the Board of Election that next morning. So unfortunately for her, we called her at 12:30. Guess what? She was there. Guess what? We have to be there. Go to the next one. Again, problem solving, so on and so forth. If the judge blows you off, doesn't do anything, whatever, and teach you on how to report stuff, what the phone number is, so on and so forth. Go to the next one. What am I doing all the time? Okay. Provisional ballots, less than 1%. It's very little, but there's rules on going at. We go through that. Go to the next one. Hours of operation. One of the reasons why New Jersey was so screwed up, excuse the terminology, used worse, because there was polling locations in New Jersey that were 1 hour to 2 hours behind. They did not open because they did not know what they were doing. Because they had a brand new way of entering people in electronically, and they didn't train everybody. What about that truck driver? Anyway, process of fixing, we show them how to do it. We have a hotline. Please do not call this number right now. I don't know how to answer it. That's the hotline that we use. We also had paperwork. We go to the next one. We go through, the RNC is going to be helping us in March. They're going to be giving us the new technology that they're using in January, because I literally want to use March as a test run and using the system that they're going to be supplying us and getting through it. What to bring, what not to bring, we can go to the next one. The big thing is better bring a chair, not need it, not have it. 4 hours is a long time to stand. Polar's over right, so we don't do all that. Go to the next one. That's the link. I would actually walk you guys through it, so on and so forth, but I'm not for reporting instances. Go to the next one. Summary. Look, we're going into the 22 election. We got to plan out for the next 50 years, because that's what the Dems do. You know, there was the American Revolution battle here in North Carolina. It was the Tar River. These guys dug in so much that when they came out our side, that they were covered in tar. We got lucky in Virginia. We did. Terry McAuliffe was an idiot. You know, he said a lot of stupid stuff and he doubled down, tripled down, quadrupled down. We have to literally protect Virginia's flank. We all have to do something. I don't care what role you are in, what you have to do, so on and so forth. If you would have asked me in 2006, I'd have been here, I would have laughed at you. Everybody has a role here. We just have to figure out what your role is. You may be the person that cooks the food. Also, the other things begin that food, make sure he gets fed. Yeah, I mean, that way you can go home and tell your mom or whatever. My mom still asks, and she's almost 8. But seriously, everybody has a role. It may be supplying people their drinks, their food in early voting. Because the moment the polls open at early voting to the moment the polls close on election day and thereafter, because we still have to do all that other, the ballot, whatever stuff. We still have to do that. I need 8,000 people to cover 2,600 polling locations. That includes attorneys. That includes the workers. That includes everybody outside. The reason why Ohio was taken off the map this past election is because of the work that we did in Ohio from 15 to 18. Same thing with Kentucky, where I was there at 19. You know, a lot of different places. Because let's face it, you may live in a red area, but red area is going to switch just like that. And it all starts with Board of Education. This is where we are now. Commissioners, so on and so forth. It's the smaller races. It's the bigger races. They all tie into whatever. So at the end of the day, that's what, I mean, we literally have to do a couple things. One, this. Number two, I'm going to give you guys these. This protective ballot. It's a, what do you call it? It's a QR code. You can literally scan it with your phone, and it sends it, you know, register, you know, everybody can sign up and do whatever to be able to help, whatever role they may be. I'm going to leave these here because at the end of the day, the president said, if North Carolina, this quote back here, you guys can read it, basically said, if the rest of the country was run like North Carolina last year, he would have won. That's the responsibility that everybody in this room and everybody in this state has. We cannot fail not only Virginia, we can't fail the president, we also can't fail ourselves. I'm done talking for right now. I'll be sticking around, obviously. If you have any questions, I'll talk to you. But I want to give a few minutes for him to be able to talk and just go from there. Thanks.
All right, so for everyone that I haven't gotten a chance to speak with yet, my name is Sean Chilson. I am the Regional Field Director for the Northeast. Basically, I am the eyes and ears for the NCGOP and the RNC in the Northeast region, basically first and second, the new congressional districts. Like we mentioned before, Butterfield retired today. The NRCC has the second district as one of the top 10 districts we're fighting for in the country. I've worked on congressional races like that before. One of them, it came down to 144 votes, decided who was in Congress. So the way I like breaking it down, if you look at Trump's win in Michigan in 2016, statewide, 10,500 votes. If you break that down by precinct, that's about 2 or 3 voters a precinct. If you break it down to the actual polling location, it's about 1 voter every other polling location. So if all you do is get one extra person registered and get them to go out and vote, scale that up across the state, that controls who's in the White House. But this year, we're in a position where we can get a veto-proof supermajority in the state legislature. So if you don't like what Governor Cooper's doing, if we can flip those seats, if we can get Republicans in there, we pick up our judicial seats. By the Constitution for the state, there's nothing he can do. He's kneecapped. Also, everything we do, everything we're doing with our program, I'm taking all of the institutional knowledge, everything field staffers do. I want to train as many volunteers on the ground so they know what's going on. So you don't need me to be here. You understand how to organize people, how to get them motivated, and it's different in every community. You know what the voters want to talk about, what they care about. I don't. Field staff, they move all around, so I need to rely on you to tell me what matters, what's the best way we can get volunteers out, what do we talk with them about. It's not just the top of the ticket either. Raise your hand if you like what happened in Virginia. Yeah, so we're going to do that here, but it takes time and it takes work. And it's not all about the top of the ticket all the time. What I'm concerned about is getting as many Republican voters to the polls as possible. If people care about the Senate race, we'll knock doors, make phone calls for the Senate race. If in your community there's a school board race, a county commissioner race where that will get more people out, that's what we will organize around because we need to get as many voters as possible in the polls. With everything that happened last year, the Democrats are counting on us to be discouraged and to not turn out and vote. That makes it easier for them to do all the shenanigans that they're best at. The best way we can fight that is keeping the same turnout as last year. As far as voter registration goes in the Northeast, 30,000 would make North Carolina by registrations an R+5 state. Right now, despite our voting record, the Democrats have an advantage. Stacey Abrams is on the ground and she's targeting the 2nd Congressional District in particular. Because all they care about is getting Democrats registered, getting them to the polls. We're not just fighting to get our officials in, we're fighting against them every day, and it's not complicated. The easiest way to do it, if you can get 10 people out to vote this year, that's how we're gonna win. One of your friends can get 5 or 6, 10 people out on their own. That's how we scale it up, and it doesn't have to be this big, complicated ordeal. It's just about talking to people, meeting them where they're at. Again, voter registrations, you can take a stack. I have a whole training. I can run you through how to do that. We had one volunteer go to church one Sunday. She brought a stack of forms, got 8 registrations from people that moved, got married and changed their name. A lot of people don't remember to re-register after that. That's a big one. If you have high school students, if they are older than 16 years old now, and they will be 18 on or before Election Day, they're allowed to register early. As far as the March primaries go, the registration deadline is February 11th. So in North Carolina, it's 25 days before the election. So if you know someone that wants to get out, get motivated, make sure their vote counts. Register them. If anyone's around for Thanksgiving, get them registered, have a stack of forms with you. If anyone's around for Christmas, it doesn't have to be this whole big ordeal. Are you registered at your current address? The state has a voter lookup, like we have with the computers outside. Make sure some people forget, some people don't realize they've been unaffiliated for years. If you have Democratic friends and they're upset with the party and the way it's going, maybe they're not ready to register as a Republican, but they can send that message by changing their affiliation from Democrat to unaffiliated. It sends the same message, and as an unaffiliated voter, they can now choose if they want to vote in the Republican primary or stick with the Democratic Party, depending on how the candidates are. So I have a couple things going around because we can make action on this today. The first one I have a couple petitions, and I'll get those sent around. It's going on with inflation. The cost of living, especially with Thanksgiving this year, it's ridiculous. So just please sign the petition. It's something I send up to the RNC every week. They need to know what voters care about in the community. And if a lot of people are upset with the cost of living and we get voters to put ink to paper and say that, that's going to go far. It's going to help. So when we target our ads, when we get people out, if there's surrogates talking, we need to know what the voters care about. In the same vein too, I'm willing to sit down with anyone that wants to work with me. I will walk you through how our program works. We will find a way for you to get involved. There's always something you can do, and again, it has to start early. I do have a fun thing. I have a handful of Christmas cards. So our philanthropy this year, we're working with Operation Christmas Child. I'm in charge of getting some Christmas cards together. I have a stack here. If you can help me out, just fill one of those, write a quick message, say Merry Christmas, sign your name. We're putting everything together for boxes that missionaries are going out with in underserved areas around the world. Everything we have left over, we're sending to local children's hospitals. So I got another stack of cards. If you can help out, write 1 or 2 of those for me. I'll just put those right up front. I do have the petitions and also a sign-in sheet. So if you could just please sign in so we can tell the RNC we had 50, 60 attendees out. People are motivated out here. They want to get work done. And we just keep growing every day. Even if it's 2 or 3 people in your house on a Friday night, I can come down and talk with you, and we can figure out a game plan. And it can be as simple as just talking with a couple people in your neighborhood, getting a handful of people out to vote. So I'll stick around too if anyone has any questions. I'll make sure my contact information gets out there. So thank you so much for the time, and I'm really looking forward to everything we can do this year.
Thanks to Sean and David. So what we're going to do with our election integrity team is we have about 4 people signed up now, committed to help watch the polls. Gary, candidate, wave Gary. Gary's going to head that up for us and try and herd the cats and take care of that for us. But we only have 4 signed up. We have 15 precincts. So many hands make light work. I think if we have 10 or 12 and they're all mobile, I think we can cover them all and keep an eye on Greenville County just fine, correct? So we're looking for at least, well, let's shoot for 50, so I need 11 more people to come in. Really quick, up on the screen, this is the new Senate District 13. It encompasses the whole county of Granville and northern Wake, which is basically the break in Wake is Highway 98. And that little green jet is the city of Wake Forest? Yep. No? That cut out on the green is the city of Wake Forest? I think so. I believe it is. So that has been identified as, that doesn't have an incumbent right now. And when the lines were redrawn, there's no incumbent. So the state of North Carolina has identified that one seat as the most important seat to take the supermajority in North Carolina and ensure voter ID. As of right now, we have we have a candidate named E.C. Sykes. He ran for Secretary of State in this last election. He has put his hat in the ring, and Commissioner Russ May has a quick message from E.C.
Good evening. E.C. Sykes ran for Secretary of State last election. He lost by 2.3 percentage points. Very close race. For the first time, a state ran race by him. I'm going to just read a statement by him. He's not here. He can't make it. He's coming next month, but he couldn't be here tonight. But I would like to at least, if you don't mind, I'll read it as quickly as I can. I know time is important. I think many of you know my friend E.C. Sykes, who ran for Secretary of State last year. And while he's out of town and couldn't be here tonight, he'd asked me to share some information. As you know, we are now in the new state District 13, which includes all of Granville County and, as he says, a big chunk of northern Wake County. Well, E.C. lives in northern Wake County. He's decided to run the North Carolina State Senate here in District 13. I am sure you know what a strong Christian and conservative man E.C. is. I've known his family over 40 years. And I hope that you'll join me in supporting his campaign. We need a senator who trusts God, who will fight for our values and for our families and for our constitutional rights and parental rights, and he is the man for the job. For too long, the liberal, the few, have told the conservative many what to do. It's time that stopped. He also asked me to make a crucial point that everyone needs to know, which Mr. McHenry has already stated. This seat right here in Granville County, we are at the crossroads. We're where it's going to happen. We'll determine whether or not we get a supermajority in the state Senate. Does everyone understand what that means? If we win, we will have enough votes in the General Assembly to override Governor Cooper's vetoes. Vast mandate. We hold, Granville County, we hold the key to the entire state, unlocking the door to strong conservative laws actually going into effect. This seat is essential to the county and is essential to our state. This is a big part of why E.C. decided to run, and everyone needs to know just how important the race is. I would tell you, E.C. Sykes has been the CEO of Fortune 500 companies. He has started several upstart companies. He's not doing it because he lacks the funding or anything of that nature. In fact, he funded $150,000 of his own money in his last campaign. He is doing it because he's a committed man, a conservative man, and someone who truly believes in the goodness and best of North Carolina, and he wants North Carolina to be return to the values that we all know. Thank you.
Thank you, As Russ mentioned, MC will be here next month to present himself and his campaign. Also here tonight is, as Russ said, he's the man for the job, but we potentially have a woman for the job too. Marilyn Avila. Marilyn Avila. I practice and since we were. Come on up, Marilyn. Introduce yourself and introduce your potential candidacy for Senate with you.
Thank you, Chad. I appreciate the opportunity to meet you. I am a stranger to you, but I am no stranger to politics. My name is Marilyn Avila, and I'm going to be a candidate for Senate District 13. Chad's given me 5 minutes. Okay? At my age, I have to hit hot spots. Because if I stood here and gave you details, it'd be a 2-hour speech. So, starting quickly, I was born and raised in South Georgia, near Savannah, on a farm, and the oldest of 4. So that tells you right off, I wanted to run the world. The oldest children have a tendency to take that on. I grew up with a very conservative farming father, and those conservative values have carried me through and are an integral part of who I am and how I handle my personal life financially and my legislative life professionally. I went to college locally in the 60s. There wasn't a lot of farmers who could afford to send their kids off to college. Oh, and Tim, my graduating class was 22. Small farming community. I got a degree in chemistry and went to work in textiles, and met my husband in college. He was a foreign exchange student from Chile, and we got married and moved to Winston-Salem, and that's when our first foray into North Carolina took place. And we've been here a long, long time, and I tell people now that I was born a Georgian, but I'm a North Carolinian by choice. And while we were working in our careers, we also took on a private or a business. And so I've got the business experience of a chain of hairstyling salons, and that was here in Raleigh. And then moving further into the future, I worked for 16 years with the John Locke Foundation. And many of you are familiar with their policy positions and all. And it gave me a tremendous knowledge of sheer expanse of what you're going to be up against as a legislator. And it worked really well for me because I had knowledge, since the Locke Foundation is a state-based operation, I knew the issues for the state of North Carolina. And many of you probably know, I don't have to tell you, Wake County has the reputation of creating more politicians because of its school board than anybody else in the state. So when our kids started school, we had 2, a son and a daughter. I got so confused and so upset and mad at what was going on in the public school system. I was fussing constantly. And my husband looked at me one day and said, look, please shut up or do something. So I got involved with the Wake County Republican Club. That was my introduction to politics. I became the president of that club, and that put me on the Wake County Party Executive Committee. And that was when I was infected with politics and have never been cured and don't want to be cured. I've run everything in the party from grunt work, precinct chair, district chair, and I was a county chair for 2 terms. In 2005, I was asked if I would consider running for the North Carolina House in a primary. Not the best way to start your career, I can tell you that, but I had a lot of good people behind me who felt that it would be something that would benefit everybody, and we had to pray hard because we had 2 kids in college at the time, and the salary for a North Carolina legislator is not the most generous in the world. The prayers were answered, and I was elected, and I spent 2 years in the North Carolina House. Some of the most frustrating, aggravating, maddening, exciting, and most satisfying 10 years I think I've ever spent. And because of the experience that I've gotten there, I want to go back to help the areas where I was so passionate, and that was in the Family and Health and Human Services. I served as the Appropriations Chair for Health and Human Services. I've worked with a lot of great organizations, and there's still a lot of work to be done. I lost my seat in 16, but I didn't quit working on the things that I worked on while I was in office. I was actually approached by the Children's Home Society, which many of you know is an adoption foster care organization out of Greensboro, and they asked me if I would lobby for them. So I was able to continue at the General Assembly and work meetings in the area that was very, very important to me. The other areas I've stayed in, because I've just not been able to let it go, has been our veterans. Many of you may be aware of a facility here in Button. It's called the Veterans Life Center. I've worked with that organization from the day I met the young man who had the vision for what he wanted to do. And it became a reality in August of last year. And we have had an unbelievable journey to this point. We just had a board meeting today. I serve as the chairman of the board currently. And we have 18 veterans in our facility at the moment. These are at risk. Many of them have come to us off the streets. And we are hoping that we can help them with issues that are mental and physical, with traumatic brain injury, PTSD, and substance abuse. And we put them into programs to get them training, either in a community college or occupational training, things of that nature, and move them back into a productive place in society. And I've also continued to work with another area, individuals in the state that were very important to me, and those are our traumatic brain injury people. Of all of the illnesses or handicaps or disabilities, traumatic brain injury is probably one of the least taken care of financially and service-wise in the state. We've made some strides, but I'm hoping we can make some more. And one of the reasons I want to go back to working on those projects is I can see what the potential is. And with the experience that I've had and the passion that I've got for it, I feel that I can hit the ground running in the Senate and be a good addition to helping improve the lives of the people of the state of North Carolina. Thank you.
So don't be a stranger between now and primary time. So it's official you're running?
Yes.
Okay, great. So don't be a stranger, come visit, and the floor is yours whenever you want it. Quickly, moving right along, the redistricting also occurred, and we have a new House seat that we share with Vance County, and it's all of Granville County except for Mount Energy and Wilton precincts. Those are Matt Winslow's with Franklin County. And we have a candidate here tonight, Frank Sossaman, he's a Vance County guy, but he lives in Granville County, and he is going to run and beat Terry Garrison and be our next House member. Incidentally, the state has told me that we're not going to win that seat, and they're not going to help us. But we're going to win the seat, and we're going to do it by grassroots and all of you. We're going to win it.
We're going to win.
We're going to win it. I need to point out one other person. Vance Johnson is in the back. Vance Johnson has thrown his hat in the ring for Granville County Sheriff 2-3 weeks ago on the Republican side, creating a primary. And thank you, Vance. Also tonight, our next speaker, the first Republican candidate in 100 years in Granville County, Rob Morris. Come out, Rob. Tell us about you and your campaign. Before I get started, I'd like to call Conor Griffin up here.
Rob, step up a little closer to the mic.
Okay. On the left-hand side is Conor Griffin. He's a 17-year-old high school student in Central Greenway High School. I met Conor when he was 8 years old, watching him trying out for baseball. I was impressed by him. When I announced I was running for sheriff, I reached out to Conor. I saw him on social media, and this young man has been by my side since that day. He gives me strength, motivation, unlike anybody else. And to see the encouragement and the desire that he is so involved in politics and has a better understanding than I will ever have. But I wanted to introduce him up here so you know that I have a lot of motivation for this young man. You'll see him and I together a lot. He likes to drive for me when I go knocking on doors. And I remember when I was 17, I loved to drive. With a show of hands, how many veterans do we have in this audience? Thank you for your service. We just celebrated Veterans Day. And not a day goes by that I have any regrets about serving my country for over 20 years. With serving in the United States military, most of you veterans are aware of the challenge coin. And a challenge coin is something that you carry with you in case someone ever challenges you to see what kind of coin you have. And some coins trump other coins. But this evening I would like to present Conor with Granville County's 275th anniversary challenge coin. If I ask you for your challenge coin, I want to see it. I see a lot of familiar faces in here, and some new supporters, and the ones who have been beside me this whole time, and I really appreciate you being here. Once again, I'm honored to be here this evening. For those of you who don't know me, my name is Robert Morris. I was born on Fort Bragg. I grew up in Colorado. After high school, I enlisted in the United States Navy. In 1986, they shipped me off to San Diego, and then I did a tour overseas in Japan, and then I went to Washington State, went back to San Diego, went to Washington, D.C., went to Rhoda, Spain, deployed a couple times there, came back to Camp, transferred over to Camp Lejeune, where I served with the Marines for 10 years. I was promoted to Chief Petty Officer back in 2002, and I retired in 2007. One thing when you're promoted to Chief Petty Officer, it's a congressional promotion. You have to go through a board. And there's one thing that always stuck with me. How did I get that? How did I get that position? And what it is you don't forget where you came from. You have to remember you have to take care of those people. And when I decided to join the military, it really, it showed me the person I am. I became somebody who knew there was a bigger calling in life. And I always put other people before myself. And in 2007, I decided to retire from the Navy, and I had to start a second career. My kids were 6'4" and 2 years old at that time. Well, my passion is archery hunting, and so I became a North Carolina State Game Warden. And that was a tough school. They say that's as tough as highway patrolman. I was too old to become a highway patrolman at that time. I didn't stay a game warden very long. I ended up transferring over to the city of Greenways, and I stayed there almost 7 years. After that tour, I went over to Franklin County. An opportunity opened up in Vance County, where I became a school resource officer. And they assigned me to an inner city middle school. And somebody mentioned something about herding cats, but I felt that's what it was like. I mean, you just could not get these kids in the classroom. But inner city middle school children needed somebody to care about them. And I
gained so much knowledge for these young people. After that year, I went over to investigations, and I worked from breaking and enterings to murder cases. I served on a SWAT team, served as a TAC medic. The reason I left there is there's a big problem in Anderson. And there's a problem with law enforcement people sometimes. They may not have the same ethics that I do. And I don't have a problem calling people out on it. When I see a narcotics officer give drug money back to a drug dealer, I have a problem with that. And I was 1 year away from retirement, and I left that agency. I'm not scared to do things. I had another job lined up, and I went to the town of Youngsville. I was there, I reached my retirement age, but I was still having fun. But I received a phone call. Somebody offered me a job in corporate security. And so that's where I'm at presently. I love it. So why have I decided to run for sheriff? Well, it's no secret that 2.5 years ago, almost 3 years ago, we had our former sheriff who was indicted on some criminal charges. At that time, I said, I'm running for sheriff.